By the year 2154, humanity has left Earth in a completely catastrophic state, a result of overpopulation, disease, and contamination. The elite decide to build a space station called Elysium and live without pollution or diseases, thanks to special pods that can heal anything. Now only poor people live on Earth, such as the orphan Max and his best friend Frey. They spend a lot of time together and enjoy looking through books about Elysium, to the point where Max promises Freya that he will take her there one day. To save money for a ticket to Elysium, Max begins stealing, no matter how many times the orphanage nun tells him to stop. Several years later in Los Angeles, Max is a former con on probation, doing his best to get an honest job at the factory. But even though he is well behaved, Officer Robot stops him at the bus station to check his bags because of his criminal history. Max answers them with a joke, causing the robot to push him to the ground and injure his arm. When the robot finds nothing in her bag and lets her go, Max goes to the hospital to find Frey in shock, who she hasn't seen in a while. While Frey looks after his hand, they take the chance to catch up and Max asks her out on a date. Frey accepts after some hesitation. Max later goes to work at Armadine, the company that built Elysium and now makes robots owned by billionaire Carlyle. Max's manager tries to fire him for being late, and Max reveals he had an accident. He has to continue with his work, yet he receives a warning. Meanwhile, a group of rebels led by hacker Spider is giving people fake IDs and stuffing them into shuttles to try to reach Elysium to receive medical care. In the station, Secretary of Defense Delacourt receives a message warning her about 3 unreported shuttles approaching Elysium, and she rushes back to her office to take action. The shuttle is told to return to Earth, but they will not listen, so Delacourt orders Kruger to activate a sleeping agent he has hidden on Earth. It's against the law, but Delacourt doesn't care. Kruger equips himself with a missile launcher and manages to shoot down 2 shuttles before they reach the station. The third one dodges the missile and lands on Elysium, causing a woman to pass out and enter a house. She puts her sick daughter in the healing pod and the girl instantly recovers, but at that very moment a bunch of robot police appear and aggressively arrest them both, sending them to Earth. Back at Max, on his way home he bumps into his friend Julio, who once helped steal some cars, but Max turns him down because he doesn't want to go to prison again. The next day at work, Max discovers that an object has jammed the door to the radioactive room. His manager tells him to come in to fix it, and Max must obey if he doesn't want to lose his job. It is quick to remove the object, but this causes the door to close and the machine to start working again. His co-workers try to force the door open, but they are not fast enough and Max writhes in pain as he is exposed to a massive dose of radiation. When they finally manage to free him, Max is sent to the company's medical bay and a robot tells him that he will die in 5 days, but that he can take some pills to work until then. Carlyle arrives upon hearing of the production shutdown and orders the manager to fire Max. Meanwhile, Delacourt is called in as an audience by President Patel to call him out for violating the law when he used a sleeper agent and killed 46 civilians. Delacourt states that she will do whatever is necessary to protect her home and their families from vandalism, to which Patel warns her that if she does anything like that again, she will be fired. Sometime later, Carlyle meets with Delacourt to renew defense contracts for the space station. Delacourt wonders if Carlyle can overcome Elysium's system and bring a new president to power. When Carlyle confirms he can, Delacourt offers a 200-year contract if he puts her in power, and he accepts. At the hospital, Frey is devastated to hear that her patient, Matilda, cannot be cured and must be sent home. Meanwhile, Max tries to go home, but he is feeling very ill and Julio has to help him move. After vomiting, Max tells Julio what happened and asks him to take him to Spider. Max wants to buy a ticket to Elysium, and since he has no money, he offers to do whatever Spider needs. Spider has a really dangerous mission that no one wanted to take on. They have created a device that can access biological information from one person's brain and transfer it to another. This mission will require Max to find a billionaire and obtain all of their access data so they can empty their bank accounts. Max accepts as long as Julio gets the ticket and if his target is Carlyle. Spider accepts those terms and offers Max an exoskeleton suit that can make him as powerful as a robot and will make up for the weakness caused by the radiation. The operation to attach the exoskeleton to Max's bones and nervous system is long and complicated, but it ends successfully, and now Max can fight any robot that dares to stop him. Max also gets an ID tattooed on his arm which makes the system think he was born in Elysium. Back in Carlyle, he is encrypting his cerebral information, putting in place a defense mechanism that will kill anyone who tries to access his mind and destroy his computer when he is done. He then gets ready to take his shuttle to the station. At the same time, Max and his group show up at Carlyle's facility to capture him. When the shuttle takes off, Max shoots at it, causing it to fail and eventually crash. In Elysium, Dolores is watching Carlyle for his future and learns of the attack, so she sends Kruger in a military ship to protect him. The group heads to the crashed shuttle and finds the robot ready to protect Carlyle. Max shoots and destroys one, and he engages the other in hand-to-hand combat, defeating him by tearing off his head. They then enter the shuttle and begin downloading information from Carlyle's brain, only to find that all the data is messed up. At that moment the military ship appears, and the group decides to flee. Suddenly, Max begins having a headache, which delays everyone and gives Kruger time to capture and kill most of them. Max and Julio try to escape in a car, but the vehicle is hit by explosives and flips over. Kruger approaches Max when he passes out and stabs him with a knife, then gets a sword to finish him off, though Julio stops him by trying to shoot him. His shots fail, but Kruger is enraged anyway and kills Julio first. Max uses this distraction to retrieve a gun and tries to shoot Kruger as well, but Kruger puts on an energy shield and faints instead of dying. After briefly mourning Julio, Max walks away. Meanwhile, Delacourt learns that Carlisle died of blood loss, and as Kruger wakes up, she sends him after Max. Kruger and his men analyze the crashed shuttle and learn that Carlisle had the Elysium system reboot program in his mind and that information is now in Max's, so they send droids to help with the search. To make matters worse, Delacourt declares Los Angeles a no-fly zone, and Spider finds that all signals in the city are jammed. In the evening, Frey is getting ready to take Matilda home, and as she leaves she finds Max seeking help for a stab wound. Frey wants to take her inside the hospital, but Max explains that he is a wanted man, so no public places. The next morning, Max wakes up in Frey's house with his wound patched up. He learns that Matilda is Frey's daughter and that she is suffering from leukemia, so she does not have much time left. Frey notices Max's ID tattoo and asks for help in getting Matilda to Elysium, but Max explains that they will be killed if they even try. Max then exits the building, only to be found by a robot. He starts running and tries to throw some things at her, managing to incapacitate her. However, all this is still transmitted to Kruger, who immediately flies to the location. He breaks into Frey's apartment and arrests her and Matilda for harboring a criminal. Max goes back to Spider's hideout and asks for his ticket to Elysium. Spider explains that he cannot send the shuttle if the signal is jammed, but he also explains that there must be something really important in Max's mind for the government to activate the jamming. He takes a look at the data and discovers Elysium's reboot program, which they can use to make a major impact on society. However, Max reveals that he only has a few hours left to live, so he will use data as a bribe in exchange for the ticket. Max then returns to the robot that followed him to taunt Kruger into following him. Kruger arrives and threatens Max to detonate a grenade if anyone tries to do anything, which will kill him and therefore the important data. Kruger accepts to take her to Elysium, and when Max enters the shuttle, he learns that Frey and Matilda are there as well. Kruger reveals to Delacourt that he is Max, thus Delacourt disables the jamming so they can blow him up. The Spider immediately gets its systems back online and begins tracking Max through its exoskeleton. As soon as they learn that he is going to Elysium, the rebels grab their weapons and board the shuttle. Some time later, Kruger's shuttle is almost upon Nondon. Max tries to apologize for involving Frey, but Kruger and his gang attack Max at that moment, and the fight causes the pilot to lose control of the ship. Max accidentally drops his grenade and it explodes, hitting Kruger in the face and knocking out the ship's engine. The shuttle crashes in the suburbs and security cameras alert Delacourt, who sends his men to arrest everyone on that ship. When Max regains consciousness and finds Frey stuck in her seat, he uses his newfound strength to help her. Kruger and his gang also wake up and fight Max. Frey uses the opportunity to grab Matilda and place her inside a healing pod to take her inside a house, but the machines have been replaced and they no longer work if you don't have a civilian ID. At that moment the guards arrive and taser Max and Frey. The next time Max wakes up, he finds Delacourt and some technicians examining Carlisle's data. The information is fine, but Max will die if they try to extract it. Delacourt doesn't care and tells them to do it anyway. While the rebels reach Elysium and go in search of Max, Kruger's men lock up Frey and Matilda. Kruger himself is barely alive, so he has to undergo a procedure that both heals him and gives him an exoskeleton like Max's. Moments later, Max manages to get loose and tricks the technicians into confessing Frey's location. He also takes their access card. Delacourt fiercely scolds Kruger for not handling the mission properly, but Kruger responds by stabbing him and making off with Frey. While Frey tries to care for Delacourt's wound, Kruger orders his men to get rid of every politician in the building while they search for Max. The men jump into action and use hand grenades to kill every politician. When Max discovers the control room, the whole place goes awry. The monitors show him Frey and Matilda in the building, with the rebels getting closer. Using the communicator, Max gets in touch with Spider and asks him if the program running in his mind can make everyone a citizen. Spider can confirm this, and together they form a plan. Later, Max goes looking for Frey and finds Kruger's thug in the room. A fierce fight ensues and Max prevails, leaving Kruger's man to bleed to death. The other thug also arrives and shoots at Max, but Max easily pulls out a heavy gun and shoots him back. Later, Max takes the girls to the elevator and tells them to find the healing pods. Frey points out the lack of ID, but Max promises he'll take care of it and sends them away. At that moment, Max hears Kruger screaming nearby, implying that he is still alive. The door opens and Max prepares to fight, but it is just Spider and his group. A man is sent to help Frey and Matilda, while Max and the rebels head to Elysium Systems room, only to be found by Kruger, who begins killing anyone he can lay his hands on. Max and Spider escape and try to close a door behind them, but Kruger stops them. Suddenly, Max's head hurts again, allowing Kruger to fend off the attack. Max fights back and Spider tries to help, causing Kruger to drop his sword off the stage. Kruger retaliates by stabbing Spider in the hand with a knife, then goes after Max. As the two of them continue to fight, Spider takes the knife out of his hand and runs to hack the door to the system room. Kruger overpowers Max and stabs him as he teases him for letting a child down. This enrages Max and he pounces on Kruger to tear apart his exoskeleton. Now without the support of the machine, Kruger cannot defend himself against Max's robotic might and considers using a grenade to bring them both down. Max reacts quickly and frees himself from Kruger's grasp before seeing him from the stage. At that moment, Spider holds the door, and as soon as he and Max go inside, Spider locks it again to let the oncoming guard out. While Buddy finds Fox and Matilda stays inside, Max connects his brain to Elysium's system. Spider does all the necessary programming and captures Max to recapture, explaining that Max will not survive if he presses the button. Max uses the computer he subscribed to contact the friend, asking for tasks to not be with him, but also explains that his promise from childhood has brought him to Elysium. At the push of a button, Max starts reminiscing all his happy memories with a kid friend. While more guards arrive to break down the door and capture Spider, the system reboots, leaving the ship without power for a few seconds. When it reactivates, the system adds new citizens to its database. The healing doctor reads Matilda as a legitimate patient and begins treating her while the robots refuse to arrest Spider as it is against the law to arrest Elysium citizens. Now that everyone on Earth is spread out as Elysium citizens, the system detects all the poor people who need medical attention, so they open the shutters to help them. While everyone in Malin rushes to the ships to complete their paperwork, Friend appears and restores Earth to the sky, leaving Max all the wonderful memories about him. If you like this video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notification, so you can see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.